The topic that I'll be presenting to you will be how to win the hearts and minds of C-suites. How do you talk to C-suites? How do you attract their attention? How do you draw their hearts and minds to like you as a person and eventually become a financial consultant to them?
I think that's going to be amazing because as financial practitioners, that's what a lot of people want and love, right? People always say, I want to target high net worth. How do I do that? I want to target senior executives, right? CEOs, C-suites. How do I do that? Jaslyn has a lot of clients in that level and she's going to share her tips of how she's going to do that.
A very good morning to all. So this is a topic which is very fond to my heart because to date, I have actually amassed close to 180 clients. And out of 180 clients, 15% of them are actually C-suite. What do we mean by C-suites? In the next slide, I will share with you what do I define as a C-suite. There are in total, in the last 3 years of my journey with Prudential, I joined Prudential in July 2017. And this month, celebrates my 3rd year anniversary with them. And in fact, in this industry, it's been a phenomenal journey and thank you to Ben for giving me such an awesome introduction. In my first year, I joined in 2017. In my first 6 months, I did an MDRT. And all this could not be done without this first C-suite client who actually signed plans with me in the very last month of the year in December 2017. So this is a public info. I was a financial consultant to Wilf Blackburn, who is the Prudential Assurance Company of Singapore, our own company. He was the previous CEO of Singapore, Prudential. And why did he agree to even sit down to have a meeting with me? I'll share with you secrets in a while. Okay, so you might be wondering, who are C-suites? C-suites is commonly known as chief executives. They are actually the company's top executives in any organizations. Currently, there are many MNCs, companies, regional companies in Singapore or in different countries. And they are actually the finest top executives who have been carefully handpicked and selected to be where they are today. They possess finely honed leadership skills, and they are picked for their astute business acumen to be able to make very good decisions and getting being able to steer the company forward to achieve overall company objectives. They are highly visionaries. They are able to project what they want to achieve in the long term 3, 5, 10 years goals. So they are not ordinary employees where we are just tasked to do whatever we need to do for the coming year. They are the ones, the strategic thinkers who project what will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. As I mentioned, they have very good astute decision makings and therefore they are very, very good at spotting people. They are very good at understanding people as well. So who are these people? These C-suites, they could be Chief Executive Officers, CEO, as commonly known as. They can be Chief Financial Officer, CFO. They can be Chief Marketing Officer, CMO, Chief HRO, Chief HR Officer, Chief Legal Officer, things like that. These are the common titles. And usually, they are in their early 40s to 50s and sometimes 60s. In the context of my presentation today, I'd like to loosely define them as being top executives who are earning about 250,000 to more than 1 million. So you would see that there is a very wide range of salary income because their salaries and package do not only count basic salary, they do have extensive company benefits. They have extensive bonuses. So some of them could be even earning more than 10 million. So for instance, big banks, local banks, of CEOs, they are earning more than 10 million if you put in together their total pay package. So in order for us to be able to be a good financial consultant to them, I think what is most important is for us to understand, put ourselves in their shoes, to kind of understand what is in a day for them. So let me share with you what is in a day of a C-suite. So you would see that this is a sample Outlook calendar of a Chief Executive Officer, a C-suite. There are many color codes, so they need to compartmentalize their meetings and life into different color codings, and often than not, if not most of the time, they do have personal assistants, PA or executive assistants helping them to manage their work life and their meetings. So if you see, some of the meetings in fact overlap each other. They literally have no buffer in place. You and I have been to meetings and we know that sometimes meetings overrun. So what happens when meetings overrun? It encroaches into the next meeting, thereby causing really very time squeeze for this kind of C-suites to maybe even, I think it is sometimes not possible to even have a proper meal. Sometimes they do not even have time to really log off and disengage. And what happens in meetings? They are not paid to just sit in for meetings. They are paid, very highly paid, to use their brains and think and make strategic big decisions along the way. So sometimes they are given information that is not complete, and they are often forced to work in the VUCA environment. So when that happens, you would imagine that they have been forced to make many decisions under circumstances that they do not have complete information. And you would know that in a day, there's non-stop emails. I think this happens to many employees. The emails keep coming, and with today's technology and with the current situation, I think people working from home, it is even harder to disconnect, and let alone people of these positions. So moving on, let me go into the real journey of how to win the hearts and minds of C-suites. So earlier on, I shared with all of you that I am the financial consultant to Mr. Wilf Blackburn. He was the previous CEO of Prudential. So I think a lot of questions came to me asking how did I even become the financial consultant to Wilf? And I myself, I was equally bewildered. I was puzzled. Even my father asked me, don't a CEO of an insurance company have plans? So I went to ask Wilf after some months later. I asked him very earnestly, I said, Wilf, I understand you are surrounded by so many financial consultants. Why did you even decide to come to me? Or rather, why did you even decide to give me that special opportunity to sit down with you? And he looked at me, Jess, do you know in my 14 months of this role, I was just waiting for the first financial consultant to speak to me. And you happened to be the first. And that actually won me a seat or a precious 2 hours meeting with him to sit down and have a proper chat. So in short, I would like to bring across this point that be bold, be confident, and ask for a meetup. Because we never know what would actually happen if we don't even ask. In fact, in the preparation for this presentation, I went around asking in the social media space. I said, I'm going to present on this topic. Can I know how, as financial consultants, what is your biggest challenge to interacting or in managing C-suites? And their first number one doubt and fear was fear of rejection. They are fearful of the power distance. They are even fearful to stand beside a C-suite and talk to them because they fear that they may look stupid. They may talk gibberish that people don't understand. So the next point I'd like to bring across to you is get over yourself. What do I mean by that? This is a term that I learned from Kobe Bryant. He said that do not fear of being judged. And today, let's say even if someone says no to you, does that mean that we are stupid? No. Nobody will even remember a day that a C-suite turns me down. And I'll just walk away. 2 years, 5 years down the road, nobody will ever remember this incident. But for the financial consultant, I think it's a good learning lesson. If it doesn't work this time, it's okay. There are so many thousand C-suites out there. Each time, what we need to do really is to learn and adapt and fine-tune. Keep doing the same thing, practicing, so that you will eventually get a perfect pitch. In fact, this is what they call an elevator pitch. The next point is be authentic. So also in preparation for this virtual summit, for my own presentation, I went back to some of these C-suite clients. I asked them, earnestly, I said, I'm doing this presentation, could I get a quick feedback from you? Just list down top 3 key traits that come to your mind. Why did you eventually decide that Jaslyn was a good financial consultant for you, suitable for you and your family? Consistently, this word came out, authentic. And what do I mean by being authentic? It means that we are very consistent in what we say. It's from the internal, inwards to outwards. What we say, feel, think, behave, act are consistent across the message that we are trying to convey. And just now, Jensen also talked about this point about being authentic. Be real. And yet, in the eyes of C-suites, they are particularly good at spotting agendas. If we are trying to hide something, I can tell you they can smell you miles away. They will know. They may smile at you diplomatically. That's when they know the next time I will not engage with this person anymore. So all the more you need to be very mindful about presenting your real self to C-suite. And keeping your promise and under-promise, over-deliver. I think this is something, it's basic work ethics. But in the eyes of C-suites, this is far more pertinent because in their work, in their 10, 20 years of journey towards the highest leadership positions, they work so hard. They know in order to be able to climb the corporate ladder, they need to be the ones who deliver consistently. If we promise that we will get back to them by, let's say, this Friday, we get back to them by Thursday evening. Always under promise, over deliver. I think this is what actually manages expectations and exceeds the expectations. The third point about being honest, I think this was a trait that was highlighted also, that I do not smoke my way. I do not smoke my way through. If I don't know, I really admit I don't know. Because I know, even CEOs don't know everything. And this is a fact that I embrace. I don't know everything. I am still considerably new in this industry. I may not know everything, but I make it an effort. If I don't know, we make sure we check and we get back. Circle it back to the people that we say we don't know to. Because it gives them certainty that this is a commitment we made to them in the journey. And lastly, admit vulnerabilities. I think this is very important. We are all humans. Humans are naturally connected by heart. If we take one step deeper and share something deeper about us, about our beliefs, about our motivations, that's when two humans can start to connect. For instance, in the last quarter, we are still in relatively like a CB days, we are still working from home. I think many FCs and many people have chosen to use virtual background. Firstly, I am not a proponent of that. That's why consistently, if you all see my social media postings, my backdrop has always been the same. I do my Zoom meetings in the space of my helper's room. I don't even bother to make it clean because I feel that this is the real life situation of working from home. My kids pop in asking me about their homework, asking me to do this and that in the midst of Zoom meetings, but it is inevitable because I am a mother. I cannot escape the fact that I am a mother. And I think admitting this part makes the prospect, through the Zoom meeting to help me understand better as a person. Jaslyn is a working mother of 2. So this actually relates us, and if the opposite party, the prospect, the C-suite, is also a parent, they would understand. In fact, they are more forgiving than ever. It's okay, Jaslyn, you don't need to reply me now. I understand you are with your kids. Reply me when you can. And that's where they give me some buffer and leeway. Next, earlier on I talked about this term, credibility. So what does it mean to have credibility? C-suites, in order to even talk to them, sometimes they are really surrounded by too many financial consultants. And in fact, before this morning, I did a quick research. Based on Straits Times or Business Times in 2018, I think we had up to date more than 20,000 financial advisors. Can you imagine? All the C-suites are swamped with so many choices and options, but who do they eventually swing to or be inclined towards? I can tell you, C-suites have this inner circle which is amongst them, and that's when they actually rely on word of mouth referral. So if you are able to secure one C-suite, and that's when referrals will start coming in consistently, but you need to work very hard for that. So when the referrals are, when one C-suite client actually refers me, for instance, the other party will be more inclined to say yes to meet, but not to sign a plan, to meet. And whether eventually it constitutes to a case closing also depends on credibility. Before a usual meeting with a C-suite, for the first time, I will actually send across my profile, my credentials. I need to present myself that in the space of financial planning, even though I'm relatively new, I am still a specialist in certain area, for instance, protection. I need to be the expert. I need to be well prepared. I'll give you an example. In last year, I had 2 big clients who signed plans with me, and both of them, in combination, contributed to 50% of my production. And one of them told me he was the one referred by another C-suite, and I didn't get too much time to interact with him. He was not even based in Singapore. 8 months later, he finally reached out. Jess, I will be in Singapore certain time, certain date. So the PA arranged 1 hour for me to sit down with him. And even with the space of 1 hour, trying to find seats at the restaurant, chit-chatting, that already took another 15 minutes. So in the 15 minutes, I think what actually won certain respect and trust from this particular C-suite client was that I was able to converse with him on topics not relating to financial planning. It was about the social political climate of Hong Kong, because he was based in Hong Kong at that point in time. There were protests going on. We'll talk about the implications about that on his role, on his business, on the bigger climate. So when we eventually sat down, I think after eating our breakfast, I had less than 10 minutes to even talk to him about a retirement plan. So with all the adequate preparation I've done, so within 10 minutes we wrap up, and he had to go for another meeting. Couple of months later, I received another text. Jess, I'll be in Singapore this time, this date. Pick me up at the airport at 12 p.m. I appeared at the airport, waiting to pick him up, and we took a cab. In that cab ride, 15 minutes to Marina Boulevard, I had to prepare all documents in place. So it was consistently, because I was very good at preparing documents. I was very good at, getting information, and we have to be quick, fast, and efficient. So within that taxi ride, he signed the plan. Think and communicate like them. Think and communicate like them. This is something relating to empathy, but not quite empathy yet. One of the C-suite's response in her feedback to me was, I was able to intellectually connect with her. So this particular client, which is one of my biggest clients to date, she gave me a regular premium of more than 200,000. She contributed 1/3 of my production last year. And again, she was referred by one of another fellow C-suite clients. She told me, Jaslyn, I like you because you're able to intellectually communicate with me. She is younger than me, but yet she holds a super big profile. She is one of the most highest achiever lady that I have ever met. Very strategic. She's able to think on the spot. And when she asks you questions, she expects crisp replies. So the gravitas that I was able to, possess, when we talk about gravitas, it means that the deeper personality, like we are deeper, and we are able to be professional and yet knowledgeable beyond profession. So this client, the first time I met her, she looked at me, are you the FC of XXX? I said, yes. She said, good, because I trust X. And that's why let's have this meeting. But having said that, again, having a first meeting, secured the first meeting, doesn't mean it will lead to a good outcome. Ultimately, it depends on how we talk and we present information to them. C-suites, everybody is different, but consistently, I realized that they display a general profile. They are high D people. If we look at DISC, high D means they are highly dominant, they have attention deficit. Give them big details first. So I know some FCs, they tend to sit down and then talk into a certain product and plans and features. No, for the way to C-suites to work, we need to talk big. Talk on a macro level, overview, then we zoom into what is their needs and then plans, big to small, so that they are able to follow through. And do not be dwarf. What do I mean by do not be dwarf? I think the power distance sometimes actually puts FCs away. They are afraid that because this person is a CEO, the CFO, etc., they are not sure the topics that they talk about or the things that they say is actually relevant. They are afraid of feeling stupid. But my point back to all of us is that in order to think and communicate like them, we need to read more. We need to try to understand their breadth of work. And lastly, connect emotionally. I think this goes back to empathy. It goes back to the previous part about being able to understand them at a deeper level. Ultimately, yes, C-suites, they seem to be a special breed, but at the end of the day, they're all human beings. We all have fundamental basic needs of taking care of our family. We all have multiple roles. We are parents, we are spouses, we are sisters, we are brothers to anyone of the family's members. So when we relate these roles to them, it helps us break the ice instantaneously. Empathy. Coming to this point, empathy is a huge topic. It's a very favorite topic of mine because when we talk about empathy, it basically means that we are putting ourselves in their shoes. One of the C-suite clients that I met this year during the CB days, I remember that was the beginning of CB days, and we had our first meeting at 6 p.m. that evening. So this C-suite sat down with me and said, Jaslyn, can you try to guess how many meetings I had prior to you? I said maybe 4 or 5. I wasn't sure, so I just made a guess. He said 11. I had 11 meetings ahead of you. So can you imagine? For a C-suite to have a meeting with me, I am the 12th person that he is meeting. After big meetings, back to back, they are forced to make decisions. And by the time they look at me, this C-suite, when we have deeper discussions, it just drains them a lot of energy. So I think what is important for us is that when we try to understand, I'll talk to this person, say, do you want a break? Do you want to have get a glass of water? Make yourself feel comfortable. Because I need to disassociate him from work meetings. This is no longer work. This is even more important than work meetings. Work meetings is about boosting ROIs, boosting productivity. This is different. This is about you and your family. I think when I frame that in that right context, straight away, I think it actually makes the C-suite be able to put away all the distractions. Sometimes when they are on Zoom meetings, do you know they have multiple tabs in the screen? Emails come in, WhatsApp comes in, but I want to make sure that they are very focused on having this kind of discussion with us. So it's about you and your family, and we have to be their guiding point. Remember, in the organization, they are the leaders, but in the discussion with me and with financial consultants, we should be the ones guiding them. We should be their reference point. Yes, they are good at managing the companies, but we are good at specializing in our profession. And this is something that we should always bear in mind and be confident. Coming to almost the last part, trust. Excellent bedside manners. And when this C-suite gave me this feedback, you have excellent bedside manners, I'm like, huh? I don't understand. Can you explain? I was very truthful. I said, I really don't understand. So he explained to me that, Jaslyn, do you know what is bedside manners? I said, no. He said, in the context, he gave me an analogy. It makes me, he says that he is like a patient waiting to go for a surgery, and I am the doctor. So he can safely entrust his life in my hands, knowing that things will go right. He knows that I'll be there for him, I'll be able to help him and his family. So that kind of level and trust between a doctor and patient is what he actually used to describe my relationship with my financial consultant relationship with him. So being able to build rapport goes beyond just that individual, just that C-suite. It goes beyond that. We have to make the C-suite feel that the entire family is well taken care by us. And lastly, active listening. When we talk about listening, active listening is very different. Active listening means that we are listening beyond the literal words presented to us. We're trying to suss information, trying to find deeper root cause, and helping them to understand the purpose of doing this financial planning. And the last part, when we talk about C-suites, throughout the presentation, you have heard from me consistently that I was referred to this XYZ. It takes a lot to gain trust of a C-suite, but do you know it is far harder to be referable? And why do I say that? In the consumer psychology behavior, we talk about social currency. In short, it means that people of their status, C-suite status, they are afraid of referring someone, not the right person, to their friends. There is high risk at stake because they are at this level. Their reputation is at stake. So therefore, being able to close a C-suite doesn't mean that we are naturally being referable by them. We have to help them refer us. But how do we do that? It means that we are consistently beyond excellence. It means that the way that we have actually consulted them is the same way that we will be consulting his friends and his network. And in fact, sometimes way beyond, so that we consistently create that kind of excellent and awesome customer experience to make more and more people refer us. With that, I've come to the end of the presentation. I hope I didn't overrun. And back to you, Ben.
Okay, some of the things that I've learned from Jaslyn's wonderful sharing on how to win hearts and minds of C-suites. Think and communicate like them, right? You have to be really speaking at their level. You have to be able to connect with them intellectually. So think and communicate like them.
Yes.
I think the credibility and authenticity is also very important. If you don't know, say you don't know, right? I mean, these are C-suites. I think they get smoked a lot in the office as well. They don't want to come out and be smoked by other people.
Yes.
So if you be authentic, if you don't know, say you don't know. I'm sure they can read you like a book if you try to do anything funny.
That's right.
Yeah. So. And being referable, I think that's very important, right? Because they are C-levels, they have the social currency, their reputation is at stake,
Yes.
right? If they want to introduce you to their connections, their contacts, their colleagues, or even their subordinates, for example, they don't want their reputation to be at risk if they introduce the wrong person, okay? And I think one thing, of course I didn't put it as eloquently as Jaslyn, but when I was taking down, one thing was dare to ask. I think to me, right, she was like, nobody approached the CEO because everybody thought someone must have approached the CEO. And even though she was relatively new, she, what do you use the word?
What word?
I copied it down as dare to ask, but I'm sure she put it more
harm
nicely.
asking,
No harm
yeah,
asking.
no
Okay.
harm asking.
Okay, yeah. So when I typed very quickly, I put dare to ask. Yeah, so you must really dare to ask. Moving back to Q&A with Jaslyn, I think Jason had a question just now. Jason, go. How do you keep the engagement with your high net worth clients during this circuit breaker and all these post-circuit breaker measures? Yeah.
So, who are already my clients, I
Yeah,
suppose.
I
Okay,
suppose
so in my network, I typically don't differentiate C-suites and non-C-suites. What I do is I put them in a broadcast list. So I would actually send them updates on what's happening in the market, that's one, so that it's for them to just FYI, read for your knowledge, that's one. On the other hand, for C-suites, I also reckon that they are in a space where it is more, for instance, social LinkedIn. They are more found on LinkedIn than any other platforms. So I would actually periodically post content that hopes to, gather their attention and traction, so that they know what is the things that I've been doing, way beyond what an insurance financial consultant would do. I'll be writing articles, I'll be doing content sharing. So this is actually relating to their work as well. So in the recent, there was a recent announcement on Grab retrenchment, and that posting I shared because I was an HR director before. I understand how it feels to be retrenched. So I put some comment pieces, some opinions of mine, and that went viral. I think it was now read by 28,000 viewers.
Wow.
Up to date. And content like that, I think I have to show people that C-suites that I am not just a financial consultant today. I do way beyond that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so connect with Jaslyn on LinkedIn if you haven't. I saw that post, that was wonderful. And I think because she was a former HR director, she could really feel what's going through and the process and everything. And what a wonderful job they've done, even though they had to make the very tough decision.
Yes.
So I think that was important. Connect with Jaslyn. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I think LinkedIn is a platform that a lot of people are not using enough. So I think Jaslyn is a wonderful, has used it wonderfully. You guys should check it out as well. I also share some tips on how to be in the top 1% and how to crush it on LinkedIn for busy executives and for financial consultants who don't know how to get started. Okay, we have another question from Helen. So thanks for all your questions, Helen. I think you deserve the book, yeah? So Helen was asking, how do you, when you were a new FC, reach out to all this C-suite? I mean, don't they look for experience? Don't they, oh, I got so many people, more experience, why would I want to talk to you?
I think it starts from building your expertise day on day. I wouldn't say that I was the best when I was 4 months old. I am still not the best. The best is always tomorrow and the day forward. So what I do present to the clients or to this C-suite prospects is that today I'm doing my best and this is what I have done. But behind the scene, there is a lot of hard work. It means that within 4 months, I have to straight away understand the products, deep dive, and being able to even train others. So these are opportunities that I was trying to get hold. And that's why before I met my first C-suite client, I was already training peers on protection plans. And because I guess I was consistently closing many protection plans, I think one things lead to another, but most importantly, I would still go back to the first point, and that's why it was the first point. Seize any opportunities presented to you in any forms. So that's why I am very open to do agency sharing. I'm open to do product sharing with other people because the more I share, the more I learn, and the more opportunities I get. So this is what I consistently do.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, practice what she has just mentioned to you. Okay, consistently do. The best is always tomorrow. So we have a question from Kelvin Fu as well. Kelvin himself is an amazing trainer, speaker, as subject matter expert, yeah?
Wow.
And even he is here and he's asking questions. So Kelvin's question was, how do you contact all these C-suites? I'm sure they have like gatekeepers and all that. Do you have a script or how do you go about it? Because that's the same thing, right? If you tell approach CEOs and all that, the first thing is I may hit the secretary or gatekeeper. So is it true? How do you avoid that? How do you overcome that?
I think one way that I typically go to is always LinkedIn. That's when LinkedIn is usually managed by people, by the C-suites themselves. Typically, that's what I'm seeing. And if you see that this person is always actively following, liking, posting, comments, chances are this is the person that manages the account himself. So we can have common topics. So let's say if I post content and this C-suite actually likes, I'll initiate a conversation with him or her, asking, what is it in this piece of content that you like? It resonates with me, things like that. So we start a conversation from there, and then gradually I hope to bring the attention back to my post. So it is a long game. It is never like one shot, one kill. It's very hard to do one shot, one kill, and something I didn't share just now, I forgot to share, is that I can tell you C-suites, though they don't like sometimes, they are always looking at your posts. They are looking for authentic characters, and these are traits that typical FC may not be confident enough to present. And that's why I resonate a lot with what Jensen shared. If you are not sure about what to post in social media, post about your life, post about your thoughts, your beliefs, your kids, your family. So this shows you as a person. We are not just FCs. We are just not, taking on the role of S. We are a mother. We are someone's, agency leader. We're someone's friends. So do what you just publicize what you need to. Understand sometimes social media can be, some people are very aversive to posting content about their public life, about their own personal life. But to me, I always say that work-life integration, it is no longer work-life balance. Balance means that we cut it off at certain time. Integration means I embed whatever activities into my life, including bring kids to the school, coaching my FCs. All these are part of my life. So I'm very open about sharing such content.
Yes, wonderful. Work-life integration, ladies and gentlemen, not just about work-life balance. If you love what you do, if you love a job, I think that's easy to do. Yeah, you can integrate it together and try to have the best of everything.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jaslyn. I think that's all the time that we
Thank
have
you.
now.